Hello, I'm Brian Harb, and welcome to the Grit.org channel. Today, we're at the Episcopal School of Jacksonville, where the men's cross-country team just had their best season in school history. So today, we're going to talk to the coaches. We got a special surprise in store for all the players, and going to have a chance to interview them. And really, we want to try and figure out what these guys did differently this year to have the best season so far. And that's kind of a key point going into this is so far is a lot of great teams. It's all about mentality. And a lot of times if you say it's the best season ever, it's like this, unachievable thing. But if it's best season yet, now it's a base of which you can build on. So let's go check it out.
I've been at Episcopal for 13 years. I'm Coach Chad Senesac. I've been the head coach of boys cross country for the last 4 years, and joined track and field about halfway through that time as well. So putting it all together, and I've just taken on a larger role with the track club as well, helping administrate that program as well.
My name is Jack Jaco. I'm a senior at Episcopal School of Jacksonville, and my PR for the season was 16:30.
My name is Aaron Chess, and I'm a freshman, and my PR for the season was a 16:44.
My name is Stone Harbin. I'm a 11th grader at Episcopal. My PR is 17 minutes and 29 seconds.
Hi, I'm Chase McCoy. I am a sophomore at Episcopal, and my PR is a 17:40 something.
My name is Trent Woodhouse. I am a freshman, and my PR is an 18:10.
William Joseph Bunch, and I graduate in 2028. My PR is a 17:49.
Jake Officer, I'm a senior at Episcopal, and I finished the season with a 16:18.
So I first ran cross country because of track. I used to play football and then ran track in the spring and really enjoyed that sport. It was like the best sport I've ever played before. I played lots of sports growing up, but that really drew my attention to running, so I decided to give cross country a try my sophomore year. And I really fell in love with kind of the freedom of the sport and just the ability to push myself and see like progression on how I'm getting better, like specifically on a clock.
I've been running for 3 cross-country seasons, but I never ran track because I've always been into baseball. But I got into this season, or into running, because my mom was a runner, and she's always tried to convince me, and I finally gave in, and now I love it.
Back in 7th grade, my parents wouldn't let me play tackle football, so I had to pick a sport for the fall. I didn't want to run cross country, but my mom ended up getting leverage over me because I wanted a pair of shoes, and she said she'd buy them for me if I run cross country, and so I caved in basically.
I think the big thing was my brother. It wasn't really my choice, but I saw him running, and I was like, I want to do the same thing. I want to beat him, and that's kind of drove my decision. And plus, I needed to do something in the fall, so I was like, might as well run cross country, and here I am. So I've just committed to Navy. I'm pretty excited about that, mainly for track, but I'll be training with the guys for cross country, and yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait. I finished the season with the state championship, pretty happy about that. 151, one of the fastest guys in the state. And then mile, I did pretty well, 4:15, got the school record, happy about that. And then besides that, I'm more of a middle distance guy, so I didn't really go too much in the 3200 or not too much in the 400, but next year I'm gonna branch out, or this year.
Running is important in shaping a young person because it's challenging. Endurance running. When we're talking about running, especially in cross country, we're talking about endurance running. We're talking about minutes and mileage and hours spent just doing this repetitive action of running. Now, there's nuances and it varies, but the amount of mental stamina and physical stamina that demands of a young man at 16, 17, 18 years old is really unlike any other sport.
I feel like I've learned to push myself very hard. That's probably the biggest thing, is like I've learned to be able to go past my limits when I thought I was going to quit. I remember sophomore year there were races when I completely gave up, and I've seen myself over the past 2 years grow, not only in my races but in practices, and push myself to new levels, and that's a really great success for me.
What I've learned through cross country is just how to build a bigger mindset and a stronger one. and I really like positive self-talk.
Cross country has taught me, and I've learned through it, that no matter how hard something is or how much pain you're feeling, it doesn't compare to how badly you want your goal and how badly you want to succeed. So you always got to keep pushing through. And I've just learned that you've got guys by your side to help you reach those goals, and you're not alone. But mainly that just you got to push through no matter what the circumstances are, and keep striving.
I feel like I've learned to hold my attention on something, not just scatterbrain and go think of something else. I've learned to ironically team bonding, how to really talk to people a lot easily.
I've learned how to be resilient. Ever since I started, it starts really hard at the start when you first do it, but then as you get more into it, it gets easier and easier and teaches you to be strong.
What I've learned through cross country is it's more than just a grueling sport that people view as a punishment. I find that it's sort of something that you use when you're down. It's something that helps you to aspire to be a better person overall, and it shows your camaraderie with your fellow runners.
I've learned a lot, to be honest. I feel like every year I get I learn something brand new. This year I've learned probably how much the team means in cross country, and track season before, I learned what it means to really commit yourself to something and try every day and show up and promise yourself you're going to make a decision and do something big, and making that happen and realizing you can make it happen.
We reclassified about 20 years ago into the classification that we're in, and so this past season we were able to get our best finish in that classification. And we were really proud of that, and we did it basically a streak of 2 years in a row. We tied our best one whole season ago, and then we beat that best as a program in a 2A classification with our placing.
I think the effort I gave over the summer was probably my greatest accomplishment. I trained really hard. I even had this one run that was 20 miles, which is not even that it was going to benefit my 5K that much, but just the fact that I could do it and that I could prove to myself that I could do something like that was probably my biggest accomplishment, because it just kind of showed what I'm able to do when I put my heart and mind to it. So.
I think my greatest accomplishment this season was running my PR, and it was important to me because it really made a statement of who I am as a freshman and where I am in the leaderboard.
I'd say my greatest accomplishment was coming back as a runner and a leader for the team. I'd previously played lacrosse and thought about making that kind of my full-time sport, and then I kind of had a coming of age moment, I guess you could say, where I came back to the sport and I submerged myself in the team and in the sport again, and kind of developed myself as a leader on the team, and tried to influence the rest of the guys as much as possible. So I think that was my biggest accomplishment, because the times don't really matter as much as the impact you have, because it's a team sport, it's not solo.
My greatest accomplishment was definitely overcoming my fear and definitely performing in front of other people. I was always afraid of not being up to standard level with other people, but now I can feel more safe in my surroundings, and I can now push myself without being feeling very competitive and not really letting myself down on my times.
I think the state championship. I placed 11th. I ran well.
So I try to stay as relaxed as I can, because I tend to tense up a lot during the race, and if I tense up too much, it affects my performance. So I've tried breathing exercises. Sometimes I usually just listen to music and try to clear my mind and not overthink the race, because the more I overthink it, the more I tend to get stressed out. So the more I can keep my mind off the race and just enjoying the almost atmosphere of the moment and the hype, the more I race better.
Well, before a race, I tell myself, just you got this, and leave everything out there, be positive, and everything's gonna be okay. I usually like listening to music to get my mind right before a race. 2010s music, so Party in the USA, Unwritten, all that songs, those are good.
That's a tough one. Usually when I try to get myself in a frame of mind, I've usually been tight. I always get nervous, I always try to stretch, I always try to pray, because God always gets me on the right path. But more recently, we've been trying to get loose and just laugh and act like it's another race, I got this, just give me the next one. Kind of that idea of just going 1-0 every time.
And that's easy. I just talk to my teammates, try to get like everyone in a good mood, happy, and know that the race is only like 20 minutes.
When I prepare for my race, I usually try and at least be an optimistic person right before the race, because then I have a better chance at not tearing myself down during the race and telling myself I can't do it. But I know that I have the ability to perform well, and I know that, well, through the grueling 3/4 or 2/4 of the race, I can continue to push on and go through with a big bang.
I like nerves, so I like before a race. If I can get jittery, if I can get scared, then I feel like that's where you're most powerful. I mean, you got all that energy going in, and when you're on the line, like when the gun goes off, it's like a breath of fresh air, and it's exciting. I'm big, like, don't stress out before the race, especially the night before. Get a good night's sleep. Don't change your routine. But when you're there, just pimp yourself up a little bit. Get excited. I mean, this is what you've been training for.
So what I think about during a race is usually just how I can push myself harder, what step I need to make, what move I need to make in order to do my best performance. A lot of times I think people get their mind like taken off the race, and that tends to slow you down. So I really try to focus on my running form, focus on my breathing, and focus on trying to catch that next person in front of me.
During a race, I tell myself, I usually hit a mental wall, so I tell myself to get over it and keep running.
So for the first 75% of the season, I thought it was all about getting locked in or being totally dialed for a race. And then the very last race of the season after states, actually, I kind of took a very relaxed approach. I wasn't too stressed, I wasn't tensed up. I was kind of just relaxed, having fun the whole trip. And then come race day, when the race started, it was the best I'd ever felt, and it was one of my best races. So I now have realized that the best way to do that is just stay relaxed, stay calm. If you're laughing before a race, on the start line, there's no problem with that, because as long as your muscles are relaxed, your heart beats steady, then that's the best way, I think, to get prepared.
Don't stop. I mean, usually I pretend there's like a pack of wolves behind me, and it gets the adrenaline pumping sometimes. Take it one step at a time. Every mile can be different. You may go out fast and you have to take it slow. You may go out slow and you have to take it fast. I mean, just because you have a bred first mile doesn't mean you can make it up in the rest of the race.
I just tell myself to keep going and to never give up, that even though it's hard, that I can keep pushing. I know I have more to give.
I mean, a lot of things. I feel like the first mile, there's nothing. It's just you're getting out fast and you're making sure you're in a good spot where you can compete. And after that, you just tell yourself you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Give yourself like 5 moments where you don't give up. And from there, just, push to the finish. The last mile is going to be brutal, so you just got to push through.
So usually at the start, how I like to use my teammates in a race, I chase them a lot. Jack and Jake, the 2 seniors, I chase them until I can't anymore.
A lot of the times when I hit a wall, like sometimes it's physical, like in the States course when there is a literal wall, a lot of people kind of give up at that moment, but I try to go into a race in my mind thinking of the times when it's going to be the hardest, and I try to prepare for that and say, I just got to push through that and I've got to get everything I can. So for instance, when I went into the state course the day before, I was like, I don't care what happens, no one's beating me going up this wall. So it doesn't matter what the course is, even if it's just the last 800 meters of a flat course, I try to visualize what the hardest part is going to be before I get into the race, so that when I'm there in the moment, I don't have to think of what I do on the spot, I just have to execute what I've already planned.
I try to look at the people around me and try to pass people and overtake them and stay close to the corners.
Why is that?
So I can cut off time and get as fast as I can.
The goal is not to hit the wall. I mean, once you hit the wall, you're done. You gotta stay in that zone where you're, pushing hard, but not crossing the line, especially the first 2 miles. I have problems with that. Usually the second mile I hit the wall and then I peter out. But races I don't hit the wall, I do well, and then it feels like I'm racing. It feels like I'm up there with the guys, and do a lot better that way.
Yeah.
Just push through.
You make the time for the guys to be around each other. Obviously, we have to run a lot, so that's a lot of time that's spent. But we try to also create some avenues where they're traveling together. We do a team retreat each summer that involves a beach day, that involves a movie day, and a lot of time to socialize together, and that's good. I like to tell the guys as we set really ambitious goals that I try to keep in mind also that what they do is they're just more than a number especially to each other, and that's what they'll remember for years out. They really won't remember their rep times or even their PRs. I mean, they may personally remember their own PR, but they're not going to remember their teammates for the times that they ran, but the kinds of people they were to each other. And that's what I try to emphasize as we approach that pretty stressful time of competing at the state championship is be a good teammate to the guys around you, and then everything will take care of itself.
I enjoy the practices the most because a lot of sports are very team-based, and a lot of people think that running is an individual sport, and that may be true for track, but I think cross-country is completely different. I think that the more you train with other guys, the faster you are as a team, and the more you enjoy it as well. I think there's a lot of benefits to pushing each other to reach success, and that's not really achievable by yourself.
What I enjoy about cross-country the most is the workouts with the team. One of my favorite moments from this season would be hanging with four of my teammates at Brevard and playing board games.
My favorite team moment from this past season was the trip to North Carolina in the mid-season. We went up to NC State's course for a meet, and it was a lot of fun because we took an 8-hour bus ride there, and the moments were fun. All the guys were just laughing and having fun on the bus. And then we got there, we went to Olive Garden, walked around the town for a bit. It was a good time. And then the race didn't go too well, but we all fought hard. We gave it everything we had. But just the team bonding and moments we had were probably my favorite part of the season.
My favorite team moment was definitely at the end of the season. We took a team trip up to North Carolina to run at NC State's course, and it was super cold out and Christmas time, so we blasted Christmas music in the van when we drove around Carolina. We had like a team dinner at Chipotle, and we just had such a fun race. It was a pretty good race for me. Not my best, but definitely where I wanted to be.
Yeah, I do. I think over the years, running with other teammates during races has been very beneficial to helping you push yourself, because you're not exactly racing with the guy next to you. Then if it's your teammate, you're like pushing each other to run faster. So it's a different kind of motivation.
Every meet's a lot of fun, especially the night before. Like the FSU at States, that was a great meet, great time. This recent Nike Cross Regional meet, that was probably my favorite. I mean, we were coming back from racing the course, listening to Christmas music, all bundled up when it was like 30 degrees outside. A lot of fun. So
I learned that from my coaches that being a leader on the team can have a great impact on not only the kids you are coaching, but yourself. I felt a lot more responsibility for myself this year in running. I not only was trying to look after my younger teammates, but I was also trying to push myself to be a good example. So I learned that leadership is also good for bettering yourself as well as pushing others.
There's a lot of things usually, but one of my coaches said that the main thing about running cross country is you gotta shut that voice up in your head. So usually the first mile, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of people together. So I'm trying to pass people, I'm trying to not get ran into a tree, I'm trying to run the guy next to me, off my tail. So there's a lot of different things, but usually about that halfway mark, I'm trying to shut down everything out of my head and just run.
A specific thing I learned from Coach Sinisak was that to not make yourself psyched out so your place doesn't matter. So you run your race and what your time and your place doesn't matter.
If you don't have recovery, then you won't be able to like grow the muscles that you need, because after a workout you're beat down and the recovery helps show you that it's like okay, and this is going to help you like get faster and get better.
Slow down. Yeah, a lot of workouts we do too quick because the workouts are there for a reason. The paces are there, and the goal is not to kill yourself every workout. So I think I can still learn from that. A lot of workouts I go too hard, but yeah, I think it's helped a lot. Just pace discipline, being controlled, relaxing, and just hitting the workouts like they're supposed to.
Running is important in shaping a young person because it's challenging. Endurance running. When we're talking about running, this being cross country, we're talking about endurance running. We're talking about minutes and mileage and hours spent just doing this repetitive action of running. Now, there's nuances and it varies, but the amount of mental stamina and physical stamina that demands of a young man at 16, 17, 18 years old is really unlike any other sport. And there are virtues to be learned and to be gained from other sports. I'm not dissing other sports, but just the slog that it takes to get through long runs, multiple practices back to back from Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. in the morning. The mental stamina and the physical stamina, I think, just serves a young man for the rest of his life, because so many life situations demand that of us, in our careers, in our family lives, that they're just on the cusp of starting. It's not only is running something that they can actually physically do beyond school as a way to get exercise and to relieve stress, it's also going to give them the physical and mental stamina to do a lot of other hard things that they're going to want to do.
I'd say cross country has taught me about life. The biggest thing for me is that you're not always gonna achieve what you want to be. So I set really ambitious goals for myself in running, and I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people expect them to be like, I'm gonna run this time, or I'm gonna place this in states. And the reality is that doesn't always end up happening. Maybe it happens sometimes, but a lot of times it doesn't end up happening. So you need to not get in your head about that. You need to accept that some days aren't going to be your best. You're going to have bad days, but you got to keep pushing through it. I think Coach Brunell said this quote one time at practice, and it was like, a third of your practices and races are going to be better than you'd expected, a third going to be worse than you expected, and a third to be about average. And I think that's very equivalent to not only running but to life as well. There's going to be a lot of curveballs in life, a lot of things that aren't going to go your way. There's going to be some great things, but you've got to learn to fluctuate. And I think running's a really good parallel to that in life.
It's taught me how to manage my time, how to be strong and, as I said, be more resilient, and taught me a lot of stuff. Definitely school. It makes me want to work harder in school, get all my tests done, make sure all my homework is completed, and make sure I'm at my classes at the time I need to be.
Cross country teaches me that life is sort of like a roller coaster. It's not always just going to go straight. It's not going to always be going up. It's going to always bring you down at some points, and you're not always going to get what you want, but you're going to work hard to get what you are and what you achieve to be.
It teaches you cross country mainly about things you can achieve. You can set goals and you can go after them. No one's particularly special. Your talents, they shouldn't dictate who you are. Your achievements can do that, and what you do, how hard you work. So realizing that no one is that much better than you, and you can do the same thing they can do.
For young runners who are getting into the sport, I'd really say, be patient with what you're doing. A lot of guys will come out and I see this in 6th and 7th graders. You know, adrenaline is an amazing thing, right? but sometimes it can be your enemy when you get there and you're like, oh, there's these older kids and there's this coach that I don't know with this big beard, and they just run as hard as they can on the first day. And then they wonder, man, why am I so sore? Like they're just the next day. So be patient, be relaxed, I think. Be open to really meeting people and giving it some time, because I think too often they'll have a tough first day. They won't have they didn't drink enough water before practice, and relationships that really are the fundamental of what we're trying to cultivate too, not just endurance and not just physical stamina and speed, but the relationships, they also take time too. And I think too often we're just, young kids come in and they're just like, well, it didn't work on the first day or the first week. I didn't meet somebody, or my legs were really sore. That all kind of goes away. You do meet people, you do make relationships. They take time. Stamina and endurance, they take time. And so I would probably say just be patient and give a full season a shot, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'd say look at the other guys on the team. I've seen that with me and Jake on next year, this team is going to have no problem like surging even past where we did this year. So I'm fully confident that everyone on our team right now can be a leader. So I'd encourage them to look up to what the older guys on the team are doing, even if it's just a grade older. Like I know even some of the younger guys, like the freshmen, are going to be really good leaders in the future, and that they know what they're doing, so that the younger guys can feel confident and almost copying what the older guys are doing, and trusting them as a leader and a captain.
Yeah, I'd say to look up to the older guys, the veterans on the team, because they're going to have a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience, and they're going to pave the way for you, definitely. But also, just lean on your teammates, because, they're going to be with you, and persevere is a big one too, because sport's all about pushing through.
Don't think of it as a chore. It's a sport. You're meant to have fun. Like, you run, you talk with your friends. Training, it can be fun. Just don't have a closed mind that this is a punishment. Just think of it as a reward.
Yeah, so try to fall in love. I mean, if you go out there and just running because your coach tells you to run, you're never going to make any progress. You got to be out there. You got to want to be, participating and having a lot of fun, and then enjoying the group of guys.
I'd say probably the biggest thing that I've learned from my teammates is relying on each other. I've kind of had a mentality over the past few years of just focusing on my individual track running, which is more of an individual sport, but when I got really locked into cross country this year and last year, I really started to realize that other people had to rely on me and I had to rely on other people, and that was something I kind of learned. It wasn't from a specific person, but from just the team atmosphere, I realized how much I can benefit other people, not only through running, just through having interactions with kids in the hallway, other things we do outside of running, and how they can have interactions with me as well, and that helps us boost our team morale.
My role on the team is really, it's a good role because it's an important role, and if I don't run the time I'm supposed to, it tanks the team pretty well, because I'm in a place where I have to pass a lot of people that are in that same place. I envision myself winning state senior year and hopefully getting a scholarship to places where I want to run.
I think breaks are important. If you just go 7 days a week, it's hard. So breaks, I say I'm a big fan of rolling, so you get on the roller, 20 minutes every night, or not 20 minutes, 10 minutes really, because you don't want to overroll, and just work through it. It comes like a process. You do it every night, and it's a routine, and it really helps. And besides that, just sleep. Yeah. Stressing sleep a lot.
All right, so today we met with the Episcopal men's cross country team, had a chance to talk to the coach, had a chance to talk to a bunch of the different runners, and really try and figure out, what helped this team have such a successful season. I think there's 3 things we can take away. First of all, having coaches with a vision, coaches that are really dialed in on taking that team to the next level. So I think the coach's vision and leadership is a big part of it. The second thing is really individually talking to each one of these runners. Every single one of them has a very specific reason of what they're trying to get from the sport of running. They're totally dialed in and focused on getting better each and every day. So having individual players that are, committed to running. And I think the last piece is just that team camaraderie. I mean, you guys saw it today in the float therapy and in the session. These guys just really enjoyed being around each other. They really enjoy the team aspect and have a lot of fun together. So I really think those 3 ingredients between the coach, the individual players, and that team camaraderie really help these guys get to the best season yet. Look forward to seeing these guys in track season and beyond. So thanks for tuning in.